from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Race Course. This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. Alabama Day, always a fun day. Again, one of the traditional Big Four grade ones up here during the meet. Looking forward to it. As I said earlier, it was our friend, Mike Veach's favorite race. Used to be a regular here on the network, and I always look forward to Alabama Day when Mike talked about the Alabama and the history and whatnot. And as somebody said in my ear when I mentioned that earlier, he's also a huge fan of Woodbine racing. So it's a big day for Mike with, now the switch in the schedule north of the border, Alabama and Kings Plate both on this Saturday. So keep that in mind as well. Coming up a little bit later on, fun day today. Mike Trombetta will join us. Smart and fancy. The stakes race yesterday won by Future Is Now. She is a monster. We're going to talk about that one and more with Mike. That's coming up a little bit later on. And then George Weaver will jump on board. He is just having a phenomenal meet. Plenty of wins we can hit on with George, and he has a couple coming up today in the Skidmore. We'll hit on those as well. But as usual on a Saturday morning, joined now by our friend Kali Francois. Kali, good morning.
Morning, Seth. I mean, what a great commercial for Central Albany. I think just that perfect quintessential Saratoga morning backstretch view that we have here. So yeah, just again, lovely to be on the show. Thanks for having me, Seth.
Although right at the end of the handicapper support, I had to stop. I don't think people could hear it on the microphone, but there was a scream like out of a movie somewhere off in the distance. But people weren't running around, so I think it was. I don't think it was anything serious.
I think they would have cut the audio for that one.
It was definitely. Yeah, it was. I had to remark though, it's not. You don't usually hear that in the morning, but it's always something here in the morning at Saratoga. But usually something pretty good. And again, expecting a good day here with the Alabama coming up a little bit later on. And speaking of Alabama Day and Alabama Day action, as is typical, you will be in the paddock a little bit later on giving some looks and comments on the runners. When will you kick that off?
So I'll be looking at them as they come into the paddock, and then I will be making my notes, and I'll kind of call in the studio probably sooner rather than later. We've got, as you mentioned, we've got a lot of races running at Woodbine, so it's just timing with that. So yeah, probably we're looking at 18 minutes to post, a little bit, 15 minutes to post that I'll be on audio for OTB.
You can kick off, what about race 7?
Yeah, I will not be kicking off on race 7, but I'll be kicking off on race 8.
Okay.
But a lot of nice races outside of the Alabama set. A lot of nice races that we have going on here for the latter part of the card overall.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that a little bit later on. Yeah. Also, typically you run around the backstretch and maybe pulling up some video. And this week you got a little video talking to Wes Ward.
Yes, we do. So just a heads up, he's got 2 first-time starters entered in the Skidmore. However, he did tell me that he does intend on scratching both of them, but this is Wesley, so just keep an eye out in case he keeps one of them in. I know Schwarzenegger did work yesterday morning, but on that subject, since I was around and I had him in the barn, we got a couple seconds with him, just his overall process of how he gets these first-time starters into stakes company, because it's not the first time he's done it before. Let's go ahead and take a look at that roll tape.
Get into a maiden race because of weather conditions, meaning that the races get taken off the turf several different times, which is the case here. You're kind of forced into it, and if I'll enter, look over the race, if I draw a good outside post, because it's certainly an advantage to have run once, and in a stakes race you're having to face multiple winners. So, but if the race looks a little light as far as the winners you're competing against, and we draw a favorable post where we're outside, because generally for the most part horses that have had starts are a little sharper breakers than those that haven't. Sometimes I do take chances, and I have been successful in the past with it. So that's why we sort of keep our options open. And in the stake races, you have the option to scratch, and it doesn't affect your date. So you can sort of enter and take a look at the race and make a decision later.
Any thoughts of where you're going to take him next?
Well, we'll be heading to a maiden race on the grass at some point, and hopefully we don't get rained off, which is what's happened here throughout the course of the meet. So just been unbelievably unlucky.
Well, hopefully we'll get some luck in the future. Thank you so much, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Some comments from Wesley Ward, and again, double check. Official scratches aren't out, so don't want to give away information that may not pan out. But
Right.
Again, it was interesting to pick his brain a little bit on that scenario.
I just thought, and I thought it was very interesting because Wesley has this personality with who he is as a trainer, and you're quick to kind of say, oh, well, that's and Wesley has had success before running these first time starters in stakes. And he has so much stock, and that's really kind of how he's able to do that. But at the same time, I thought it was very interesting where he made the comment, I hate running first-time starters in stakes, because that's not typically, I just thought that's not really typical of what somebody would think of Wesley Ward when they see that kind of move there. So like I said, if there's going to be any horse that will be running, it will be Gypsy Art, but he did kind of indicate that both of them are scratching.
Yeah,
but who else do you like in that race, Seth?
I went with kind of the logical in there.
Sure.
I went with Sandal Song after Schwarzenegger.
Yep.
Schwarzenegger, if you went. Sandal Song, though, from George Weaver, I thought, off of the debut win and that win and you're in down at Gulfstream was worth taking. And he ran fine. Win and you're in for Roy Lescott, and I thought he ran a good third there. So, I was kind of logical.
Precisely. There was also a winner from that effort, a winner next time out over that from that Gulfstream Park field as well. And then this one, they're just kind of this one is bottom side routing turf all day long. The dam is a half to grade 2 and grade 1 campaigner Kurban. They're just taking the sprinting talent that he's got now, and they're just fully running with it. So I completely understand it. One that kind of caught my eye a little bit just outside of that is honestly the other George Weaver runner in Tough Critic. He had a half sibling in Frank's Art who was competitive in Saratoga and Keeneland in those early starts. So might as well go for it, early on with this one as well. Longshore Man was next out winner at Churchill Downs for Leslie Ward. Tiempos Buenos just won at Indiana last weekend. Red Lad from that field, a little bit further down in that field, was just third in the Tyro Stakes. I just didn't love the turf work where they had him sit behind. He showed no turn of foot in that effort. So I like the turf work a little bit better last time out. That's the only thing I have against that one. But yeah, there's plenty to like in this field as well. Anything else that you got?
No, I was right with you. I thought that once you got past Schwarzenegger, the two Weaver horses were interesting with their scenarios, winning first out, going over to Ascot. Obviously, the better Ascot finish was from Sandal Song, but 11th in a field of 23 isn't bad for Tough Critic.
No, a price that I'm going to throw at you guys is 12-1 on Malice, the Todd Pletcher horse. I'm just looking at some of his works, the turf work. He was really nice in Nora's hands. You could see that this one possibly just has a little bit of turn of foot, but there's only so much to go off of. So they're going to kind of utilize that as much as they can. The Dam's most recent running half sibling, American Apple, is a grade 3 and mostly listed stakes winner over the turf. So that's kind of where I think they went the direction with this one there. So just 12-1 at a price I wouldn't, he's big. He kind of looks like a dirt horse, but I could see him with the way that he worked on the turf. He's useful. He's going to potentially be useful on the turf, and I like his outside post.
Trying turf for the first time, as is Bob Brofsky, and the workouts for that one for Dale make that one maybe a little bit interesting too if people wanted to play around.
Yeah, the Dam's two half siblings went on to be multiple listed in grade 3 routing winners on the turf. So and the Dam won first out as well, so as to be expected. I think that with this one, the way that it moves, we may just need to see this one run on the turf once, maybe in just one turf run.
Interesting, though, group in the Skidmore.
Yeah.
And again, we'll have George Weaver in a little bit later to talk about some of those. Wanted to get a tape piece of my own in because I tried to get it in yesterday, and we had a little technical situation where the picture froze for a couple of minutes. So and then we were into our next guest. But I wanted to show this. And again, I said yesterday, I had some tape from a couple of weeks ago. I had Chad in the winner's circle after the Whitney, and that was fun to hear him talk about how much it meant to him to win the Whitney, coming from the area. The Whitney and the Travers are so big. His family was there. Then he talked about Sierra Leone, maybe come back in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Somebody asked, do you think it's the horse is the best horse in the country right now? So that was fun. We got a chance to show that yesterday. And again, I just hadn't had a chance to plug it in. It was ready to go. And I wanted to show yesterday before, we were too far away from the event. Similar with Javier Castellano. Caught him in the winner's circle after he won on Bring the Band Home. a couple of weeks ago. It was the day after the Whitney, and Bring the Band Home had won the Harvey Pack earlier, and it had been about a month, and that was Javier's previous win. So he'd been about a month without a win, brings in the Bring the Band Back Home again in the Troy the day after the Whitney. So again, it was a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to show this. He was interesting. He was humble and talked about, if you're competitive and you're playing this game, you just have to come out and keep grinding out. Yeah. So we'll take a little look at that. And then interestingly, I have the numbers for him the 2 weeks since. Sometimes you're on a cold streak and then you break through and it changes. And so we'll update those numbers. But again, this is from a couple of weeks ago. It's right after the Troy in the winner's circle. Javier Castellano on the win that broke a little bit of a cold streak on Bring the Band Home.
This is a competitive game, and any athlete and any sport, you got to go through to those moments. That's when you make it tough, mentally and physically. You prepare every single performance, and lucky, fortunate to be here and compete with the best rider in the country, and opportunity to ride like horse, but they bring it back home. It's a fast horse to compete with the high level. Team didn't go right in the beginning. All jockey he faced that challenge in any sport and any meet too as well. And unfortunately, he chose me this year, and I tried to let it come back little by little. I believe the last race I won, it was with him. That was almost a month. He didn't win races, and that's the first time happened in my career in 29 years. And I never faced challenge like that, but I've been strong, competitive, work hard every single day, mentally try to mindset, reset a little bit, and be competitive. Be blessed to be, that's the best place to be, Saratoga, to compete with the best jockey, the best horse, the best trainer, and that's when you make it tough and you compete, and that's when you challenge it. You always dream to win races in Saratoga, and that's what I've been doing.
How about the performance from this horse today?
Amazing. It's a fast horse. You see how he break out of the gate, and people make a comment a little bit because he switches the lead back and forth. Seems to me that's his style. You don't feel like when he switches lead, that's what he does. Because the last time he almost worked a record, I believe, and he did. Every single step of the race, it was switch lead back and forth, and he feel good, feel healthy, fast horse. He able to relax in the lead, able to. It's not run off horse. I like that, and you always listen to. And the jockey, and when I asked, he took off again. I mean, lucky to be around those horses.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Yeah, Javier Castellano in the winner's circle the other day, 2 weeks ago, after having won on Bring the Band Back Home. His previous win was about a month earlier in the Harvey Pack on the same Bring the Band Back Home. And as I say, he was humble. It was interesting to hear a guy like that who plays at the top level of the game. He was kind of humble and said, you just keep plugging, you try to be competitive. But as I said before the tape, I'll pull up the stats since.
Give the numbers.
So it's now been 2 weeks since. And last weekend, Javier went down to Colonial on Arlington Million Day and won 2 stakes, including the Beverly D. But it's Saratoga since then, 2 weeks ago. On Thursday this week, he went 2 for 2. Yesterday, he went 1 for 2. And overall, the last couple of weeks since that tape was shown, 5 for 18. Pretty
Lucky
good,
charm you.
Pretty good stats.
Yeah, it feels good, doesn't it?
It was, and I've seen it before up here as a handicapper. If you get a couple of weeks into the meet, 3 weeks into the meet, and a trainer is showing an offer, you kind of maybe shy away a little bit. But a lot of times they get that win and they're off and running.
And especially here at Saratoga, any type of momentum is just really kind of exponentialized because it's so impactful, and things just it's a roller coaster when you're competing at these levels at Saratoga, both for a trainer and for a jockey. Things can just turn around just like that. And I just remember people, saying comments about Javi when he was in his cold streak, and I'm just kind of in the back of my mind, I'm kind of like, well, that's not the whole picture. Actually, he's he's an exceptional rider, and sometimes it just kind of takes a little bit of the right horse stroke of luck, and then you just kind of get right back onto the momentum kick.
Off and running, and that proved to be the case. That was kind of fun to see. All right, before we let you go, let's take a look at a couple of races for this afternoon. Again, you'll be in the paddock giving some commentary a little bit later on, so keep that in mind as well. 7th race today, to me, was a fun maiden special event.
Yeah.
I wound up 6-2, 1-8, but I put cost effective on top because I like Chad and Klarovich. The Dam herself was a win early type.
Yep.
And I put out some stats for Chad over the last few years in 2-year-old first time starting sprints like this at Saratoga. He's had improving numbers over the last 3 years. He's interesting. Renegade for Todd Pletcher. Had a Dam that won the career debut for the same connection.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two that I had on top, 6 and 2.
Yeah, let's get back to the number 6. It's a satisfying work tab for a Chad Brown runner for first-time starter for me. And the Dam, you're correct. It was a good second over the mud in the second start over the mud at Belmont, but won at the 7 furlongs. Of course, grade 3 wins in the Dam Moselle and the Gazelle. 3rd in the Kentucky Oaks. Just very prolific Dam that we're coming out of. And of course, she's a half to grade 3 winners in Ms. Connect, Winslow Homer. But the only concern I have is that this Saratoga surface can be very tiring. And this one has just kind of been, has been training over the Belmont training surface. So it makes me not raise any kind of alarms, but just kind of keep in check and seeing if you can find any potential value elsewhere. Renegade, who's going to be breaking off the inside post. I looked at a couple at those 2 work videos. I love the fact that, it gave a really hard gate work last time out, and just having experience with the barn, they always get the most out of the gallop out. So just as far as the timing goes, I'm glad that it was August 9th and we're now at the 16th to give this horse time to recover from those hard works. So I like the gate work. I'm really splitting hairs with this one, and I know that the barn has had this horse work on the inside multiple times before, but in the last couple of serious works, this horse has been on the outside. I would have loved to see the horse draw the inside for the work, but at the same time, this horse has definitely worked on the inside before. That's not a worry. I just don't love the inside post for this one. The grade 2 winning Dam Spice is nice. Won first out at Gulfstream Park during the championship meet. So just a lot to expect there. There's a lot of buzz about the number 4 Hero Declared. Jose Ortiz has a lot of nice things to say about this individual. The Dam was in the barn of Bob Baffert. A good second first out over Santa Anita, which means, the Dam is a half a grade 3 winner, wild about Hillary. Grand Dam was second in her first start as well. So they worked with a very easy company in the last video, in the only videoed work that I've seen of this individual. But there's a very speedy half sibling who won first out at Parks going 4.5. So that kind of interjects a little bit of the speediness. Just connections are very highly touted on this horse, and there's a lot of buzz on social media about this horse as well.
Yeah, taking action on the morning line to 5-2. David Erdogan is very good. Looking up a lot of that. Yeah, that sibling Wild Army Brat won the career debut.
Yeah.
Let's just quickly got to wrap it up, but get some thoughts on the Alabama. I went back to good cheer. I had the win streak broken, and so to me the Acorn may be a little bit of an aberration, but I said on the handicapping show I'm going to kick myself if we get to the backstretch and Lakara's loping along, because I've liked Lakara all season long.
It really just depends on if she can get to the front and get an easy lead, that's fine. I worry about her. She's always one to she loves the game so much she kind of overtrains a little bit, so I'm just concerned about the added distance here today. When it comes to Saratoga, when it comes to good cheer, she's been working awesome. We haven't really seen her come off of any kind of layoff yet, but last time out she was just kind of tired. It was a tired kind of traveling movement wise over the sloppy surface, so we can forgive that. But yeah, they're good works, but they're not wowing efforts. But she's never been meant to be a flashy workhorse. So I'm really excited to see what we see out of her coming out here. I'm also very interested in Nitrogen.
Me too.
From Mark Cassey, big time. The Dam's half sibling talk moved to me. Also tried in the Alabama. She was sent to the lead and tired out. If they send this one, it's kind of over, which, being as her stablemate is Lakara, I don't think that's going to be happening. And should have won in the Wonder again. They should have won in that off the turf event in the Wonder again. But I just think that this one is extremely interesting coming back over the fast surface for the first time.
Totally agree. Field of 6, but I think an intriguing field of 6. Kali, appreciate it. Again, Mr. Bick out of town, so we'll have you back in a little co-host action tomorrow and loose on the lead. So we'll look forward to that. But otherwise, appreciate the visit.
Thank you for having me. And of course, we're going on from one Marylander to another. We're going to have Michael Trombetta on next out. I mean, talk about that win yesterday. Future is now, cannot be stopped. Excited to see what Michael has to say about her.
A monster for sure.
Yeah.
We will certainly talk about it. Kali, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, Seth. Thanks, guys.
All right, stay tuned. As mentioned, Mike Trombetta is in the green room. He's up next. Stay tuned.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
For centuries, the bond between horse and human has been forged in trust and hands-on care. Thoroughbred racing is combining that tradition with cutting-edge technology to raise our standards even higher. New investments in wearable biometrics, advanced imaging, and AI help optimize our safety programs.
That opening quarter mile was a quick one.
Every day, a commitment to improving their care. So win or lose, it's safety that runs first. To learn more, visit safetyrunsfirst.com.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Saturday, Alabama Day morning. Yesterday, nice stakes action with the Smart and Fancy. Future is now, what a monster. And I went into the winner's circle and I asked our next guest to join me. And I asked after the last win by Futures now, but you were headed out of town. But luckily enough, Mike Trombetta in for a little bit longer this weekend. And so we have him sitting in. Mike, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy to have you on board. And we were talking before we went on the air about the situation in Maryland where they kind of changed up the schedule. You're kind of a Maryland-based guy, but looking at Equibase, you've had a lot of runners at Colonial this summer. Just talk a little bit about that, the mechanics, and you were saying mostly you're shipping over from Maryland to run a Colonial.
Yeah, so we're running a lot of horses at Colonial out of our Maryland base, and we ship them down there the day or day before they're running, and we try to work it out. If it's really hot, give them the benefit, get them there a little sooner, and try to ship off times when it's not as much traffic. And it's been working out fine. We've been doing it that way for the last couple of years.
And Colonial's become popular. There are a lot of familiar faces, a lot of New York connections, ship horses down. Obviously, last weekend was the big weekend with the Arlington Million, but it's become popular. And again, with Laurel, kind of taking summertime off, it's maybe more popular.
Yeah, and you're getting a few more outfits that are coming in there each year, and they're bringing more horses. I think the stable area is very full. It's a good program, fantastic turf course. I think they've only been off the turf 1 or 2 days all meet, and people like it there.
And does Laurel come back before, or does Timonium have their little meet before Laurel comes back?
We have our 7-day fair meet at Timonium. 3 days the first weekend, 4 days Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
And then we start back at Laurel. So I do think there's a few overlapping days between Laurel and Colonial, but they used to race head to head, but now pretty much it's like a circuit.
And I love that shot of Colonial where they're looking up the stretch at the Ferris wheel.
Oh, it's ammonium. Yeah, it's ammonium. Yeah, we got to get them used to the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, gotta love that. Let's go back to yesterday and take a little look at Future Is Now, because again, this horse is just an absolute monster. Now, 10 wins in 18 starts. Came out of a win on July 19th right here in the Caress. But yesterday, and we'll take a look at the whole race coming out of the gate here. The number 6 horse is Future Is Now. Paco on board. Talk a little bit about the trip, and as the horse was going through the race, what your thoughts were.
Well, she had a nice break, and we figured there would be a little bit of speed on the inside. We weren't quite sure what was going to happen with the outside speed, but looked like he had the jump on them. And this is kind of the trip Paco enjoys with this filly, because she's rateable enough for him. As long as they're moving along at a good enough pace, she'll rate kindly. And this is desirable as can be for her. I think she would much prefer this than being bottled up behind something. And she knows what her job is.
Yeah. And you said in the winner's circle yesterday, she tends to be maybe a little bit fussy in the gate.
Yeah. So for some reason, the last few starts, she'll get a little fussy in the gate, and you could see her doing it right before they broke. Unfortunately, they did a great job. She settled right before, they took off. We stand her and we school her back home, but it's a laid back training center environment, and she could care less.
Yeah.
I think it's just the anxiety, and gets a little keyed up on race day. She knows what's coming.
And you said you've gate schooled her, but you said in the morning you don't get the afternoon atmosphere, so she doesn't really key into it. But it seems like maybe she is just a racehorse in the afternoon, and you're over there in the paddock, and she kind of knows what the job is, and maybe the fussiness is she's keyed up and ready to roll.
These horses know the difference. The most subtle things, I swear they even know if you put different bandages on them or blinkers, or they can tell the difference.
Does a horse like this have even a better mental attitude or more intelligence? When you get a top class runner like this, can you tell it mentally?
This one's exceptionally good. She puts her game face on, and she doesn't get herself worked up. And I've always believed the best horses, they obviously got to have the physical ability, but the mental ability is right there behind it.
And I have to ask this as well, because you just don't see it that often. Comes into this, and it sounds like goes out of this in very much the same path as last year. Last year was in the Intercontinental, the Caress, the Smart and Fancy. This year, the Intercontinental, the Caress, the Smart and Fancy. Last year, he went to the Franklin. Sounds like that'll be the game plan again this year.
Yeah, and when we started this season off, we had a game plan mapped out. We were very successful last year, so we tried to stay within the parameters of that, and it's pretty much followed it all the way through.
Again, you just don't see that often. I was going to ask if you kind of planned it out that way, and it sounds like that was the game plan going into the season, and it has worked out very, very well, clearly. And I like that Paco showed up here in the last start, the Caress, because it was a big day down in New Jersey, and I think that kind of shows the respect he has for Futures now, understandably.
Yeah, he rides a couple very good horses, and she's one of them. And you always worry about breaking that continuity, but I've spoke with his agent well in advance, and we tried to make this plan work. And fortunately, there was no major conflicts.
And again, you look at the workout line, as you say, you're a Mid-Atlantic-based guy, been working down at Fair Hill. I'm guessing the game plan is to go back there, or would you go straight to Keeneland?
Yeah, I even took her back home after the last race. Fair Hill's home for her. It's comfortable. She trains well there, and I try to keep that same continuity, the regular rider, the regular groom. All those things for me are very important.
A homebred for the late Larry Johnson. And I know in the winner's circle, the connections, relations of Larry Johnson and Caress, and I think yesterday as well, you've talked about his importance to you. But for folks who aren't familiar with Larry, kind of a main guy over the years on the Maryland racing side of things, breeding, racing, and whatnot. Just for folks who may be not familiar with the name Larry Johnson, just remember him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, his program developed over many, many years. It started out very slow with just a few horses 35 years or 40 years ago, and it's just over time has developed into a very powerful breeding operation. And I can't begin to guess how many stakes winners and stakes place horses I've had for that family over the years, and I'm every bit of upwards of 50 or more.
Yeah, and again, for folks who aren't familiar, an important name down there, the late Larry Johnson down in the Maryland area. Certainly. Speaking of the Maryland area, and again, you're a Maryland-based guy. For folks who aren't familiar, talk about how you got into the game. Are you from that area originally, and then how'd you get into the horse racing game?
Yeah, I've been from Maryland. My dad owned a few cheap horses early on, and when I was in high school, and I had some opportunities to go to work at the track a little bit, and it just gravitated towards it, and I liked it. And, it was a long struggle to get started. For any young trainer, it's really hard because there's just so many opportunities for owners. Larry was one of my early owners, actually. And, I started to catch a few breaks along the way, and then things just really started to take off in the early 2000s.
And still, again, based down in the Maryland area, and is Fairhill your main base pretty much all year round?
Yeah, well, Fairhill and Laurel. So we have about equal amounts of horses at both, and then what we do is we satellite out, Saratoga, Gulfstream. We take some to Keeneland and Monmouth Park. We go wherever we can get these horses in and be productive.
What are your thoughts on the changes down in Maryland? With the racing, the main racing going to move over to a brand new Pimlico.
It's going to have its challenges, but I think it's something that was needed, and the time has come. The last few years, you just felt like things were starting to get a little stale. I think a new building and new venue and new training center will give us some opportunities to maybe get some new faces.
Well, you like the Preakness weekend, there was a lot of media people on social media, and for years, I guess Pimlico needed, a facelift, to say the least. It was maybe going in the wrong direction facility-wise, and people would say that on social media the last couple of years. But being the last Preakness, man, they were, I'm sad to see Pimlico go.
Myself included.
Everybody had good memories.
I grew up around there, and I'm glad that there'll be a replacement product there. So we'll still be running on the same racetrack and things of that nature. But it was time. Yeah. It needed some help.
Yeah, like I said, it was funny to hear that because over the last few, this place needs an uplift, an upgrade, a facelift and whatnot. But then when it was about to go, everybody was like, what? I have so many good memories here, which is totally understandable. I wanted to pull up a couple other wins of note. And, Larry Johnson, a main owner for you, but as is Mrs. Weber and Live Oak, and a little bit earlier at the meet. This was fairly recently, back on August 8th. Little starter optional claimer event, Billionaires Row, who's talented. This will be start number 5 and win number 2, a second and a third in the mix as well. So talk a little bit about Billionaires Row, and again, career start number 5 and working for Mrs. Weber.
Oh, it's been great. And this little horse is a trier. He doesn't have a lot of size to him, but he's developing and he's getting better each start. So that's what you look for in your 3-year-olds, and hopefully you'll have a nice, useful 4-year-old that can go through some allowance conditions, and maybe even with him being a Florida bred, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he's not good enough to place in at least a state bred stake in Florida this winter.
Yeah, very good. So that'll be the game plan. And what is your game plan most of the year? Do you have some horses down in Florida?
We do. We take 20, 25 horses to Gulfstream every year. Our regional turf runners that need a break will get some rest over the winter. The horses that didn't get to race enough and are doing really well, we'll take them to Florida. We'll give them 2 or 3 starts down there, maybe January, February, give them a month off in Ocala, and then bring them back north.
And I will note the turf course at Laurel is very good. That I personally, as a handicapper, will miss.
That will be the saddest thing with it, that no doubt about it. When we lose Pimlico and they redo it, and we lose actually Laurel, it's definitely one of the best turf courses in the land.
Yeah, that again, as a handicapper, I can certainly appreciate that as well. And just had to. It's always fun to look back at a Grade 1 win and a Grade 1 win up at Saratoga, and I remember this win. The track was a little bit off that day. I'm just looking. I think they have it listed as good. But we're going to go back a few years. Pandemic year, the Forgo, August 29th of 2020. It's going to be number 7, win. This was a nice field. You went off at 7-1. Complexity was in here. Lexingtonian. Whitmore was in here. Forenzi Fire. But it's win. It is Mike Trombetta for Live Oak Plantation. Give us some memories on the win a few years ago with win in the 4-go.
That was the only thing that came out of COVID that was good for me. So it was a bizarre day. The rain, the storm. I mean, it was craziness. And for that horse to win the way that he did on that day, I sometimes look back at it and it's just as amazing 3-4 times watching it over again as it was the first time. It looked like we had no chance. And then all of a sudden we're a winner in a grade 1. So I don't know what else I could say about that.
There we go. I knew we had the and as they say, it was the weather was a little bit funky there. Javier Castellano was on board, and again, you went off at 7-1. It was a field of 11, and as they say, it was a salty field too. And so those are the kind you get a grade 1 up at Saratoga on a day like that with a horse that offers up a little bit of value in a field with some horses that went on to have very good careers. Yeah, you had to walk away with this one with a feather in your cap.
Yeah, and some of these horses are stallions today. Yeah. So. And good ones. Complexity's a very good stallion. So for us to win, it was
when you like when they come up late like that.
It was crazy. It was raining sideways, and by the time we came back from the test barn, it was sunny and nice out. I mean, that was one wicked storm.
Which up here is not that unusual. We've seen it probably 8 times already this year. But I just wanted to pull up, a nice grade 1 win up at Saratoga. And again, pandemic year up here was just bizarre, but it was fun to watch good races like that. At least that kept us going through the pandemic season. Mike, appreciate the visit. And again, get home safely. And I'm sure you'll be back and forth.
I've got a few more trips planned.
Yeah. Very good. It's been a nice season, though, with Future Is Now and the 2 stakes victories up here. We're looking forward to the next start down in the Franklin at Keeneland, correct?
That's the plan.
Okay. Keeping up, again, with that plan. I like there are certain trainers or certain situations where you can look back and see similar patterns year to year. I always like that. And this is kind of the perfect example of that with Future Is Now. So we wish you a lot of good luck going forward. And if you're headed back out, and I'm sure you're headed back down, travel safe.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mike Trombetta. All right. We'll take a break. When we come back, George Weaver is in the house. He's having a Saratoga meet that's pretty good as well. So we'll talk about that and more. Stay tuned. It's been referred to as possibly the best equine-themed gift shop on the planet. Impressions of Saratoga. Impressions of Saratoga, celebrating the Saratoga and equestrian lifestyles. It's your #1 choice for Saratoga souvenirs, apparel, and gift shopping. We have gifts for the entire family, and we're pet-friendly too. Visit us online at impressionssaratoga.com or come on down. Impressions of Saratoga, 368 Broadway, downtown Saratoga.
Why just watch the races when you can be in the middle of the action? For nearly 20 years, Bonaventure Stables' share-based ownership program has made thoroughbred ownership affordable for the everyday fan. Ownerships of 5 and 10% are now available on a nice selection of horses. As a partial owner with Bonaventure Stables, you'll enjoy all the benefits afforded every owner. Visit with your horse in the private stable area. Greet the trainers and jockeys in the paddock. And when your horse wins, savor the moment in the winner's circle at Saratoga, Belmont, Aqueduct, or wherever you bring home the prize. Based in historic Saratoga Springs, Bonaventure Stables has been training winners and creating memories since 2005. Learn more, see available horses, and meet our team at bonaventurestables.com.
Welcome back to Racing Across America, and as promised before the break, we are joined now by George Weaver, who is having a very good Saratoga meet. Wanted to get him over here, talk a little bit about that overall, and entrance today at Saratoga. George, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. And talk a little bit about the meet overall. And I'm guessing you come in the meet with some kind of expectations or goals, and did you have those, and how have they been met so far?
Well, you just want to win races, and you want your horses to go over there and run well, even if they don't win. I don't really set expectations. You just hope things fall the best. I mean, you have so many things that you have to have go the right way. We just, you work hard every day, and it's harder work up here than the rest of the year. So you just hope that that you do get some wins and make it worthwhile.
Well, it's certainly been a good meet for you so far, and then congratulations on that. Where are you based up here?
We're at barn 63 on the Oklahoma side, close to Todd Pletcher. We've got 20 head over at the harness track, and we've got our string at Belmont.
Very good. And I'm guessing with most trainers, New York trainers who have horses down at Belmont, you're kind of going back and forth with those kind of horses during the meet.
We've been doing a lot of shuttling. Horses run, and we send them back to Belmont, bring fresh ones in that are closer to a race. It's a juggling act.
Yeah. And for folks who don't know, talk a little bit about that on the trainer side of things, looking at the condition book and when the condition book comes out and how you parse out, what horses and what opportunities you're going to have when the condition books come out.
Well, each horse is treated individually. Some horses need to get up here much earlier to school in the paddock. Some horses are fine to just ship in the day before the race. I mean, every situation calls for its own protocol. So we just do it like that. You get the book out and you find out where you want to point your horses for and come up with a plan.
Do you have parsed out, like I have a 3-year-old going to meet this condition, this condition. So when the book comes out, you're just kind of making check marks?
Well, I've got my training chart, and when the book comes out, you got to go down your list of horses, and I plug in on an Excel spreadsheet. I just plug in, the potential spots, so I have an idea when to work them, when I want to work them, and so forth.
And for folks who aren't familiar, give us a little background. I always like to let people know about the personalities. Talk a little bit about how you got into the game and how you got to this spot.
I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, so it was natural that I was introduced to horse racing at a young age. My dad took us to the races all the time. Actually brought us up here to Saratoga in 1980. I forgot who won the Travers that year, maybe General Assembly, maybe. Anyway, so we came to Saratoga in 80, and we came a few more times in the mid-80s, and kind of fell in love with the place. I always was a big fan of New York racing as I grew up, and I wanted to train. So, somewhere like a junior in high school during the summer, I got a job out at a farm working race horses, and I was lucky enough to hook up with John Hennig at Churchill, and I went up to Parks, or what was Parks now, Philadelphia Park in the past. And, I spent some time with him, and obviously he was able to feed me into Wayne's barn with his relationship with Mark and Kieran. So everything kind of fell into place, but I was in love with the sport early on and always wanted to train.
And you brought up Wayne Lucas again, passed away recently. And just, incredible at his age. He was still getting up on the horse in the morning, had a horse in the Preakness this year, but just talk about your time with him.
Well, I'm sure I speak for all of us that work for him. We're very proud of being able to be a part of his organization. Wayne was a larger-than-life character, a very inspirational guy, motivational. He was like a coach to us. I know he coached basketball, and that was his personality. But just a very larger-than-life figure, and it's sad. It's very sad that he passed away this year, and we miss him. But he's just a legend.
Yeah, an incredible career, as I say, to be at his age, still getting up on the horse in the Preakness this year. And it was a little bit of a shock for everybody, the way it came out. He was a fixture up here, so certainly missed, no question about it. All right, let's get to some of the runners. You had a couple entered into the Skidmore this afternoon. You said Sandal Song is going to be out?
Yeah, we scratched him this morning. It was a little off on the track. Looks like a foot, but, shouldn't be running today. He'll be fine, and we've got Tough Critic.
And I pulled up a replay. Going back to the career debut at Keeneland, nice win to start off the career. That made you take a little shot over at Royal Ascot in the Windsor Castle. Ran 11th, but in a field of 23 there. Now we're coming back off that Royal Ascot start. But give us your thoughts overall on what we've seen so far from Tough Critic, what you expect this afternoon.
Well, he had a great debut at Keeneland. Like, I thought he was really running through the wire. And so we got excited about him. There's really nowhere to go with the turf sprinter at that time, and the connections wanted to take a shot at Ascot. So we took him over there, and he broke really sharp over there, and probably too sharp. Like in the race at Keeneland, he was able to get comfortable behind the pace and make a run. And I thought at Ascot he broke into the race, and then Flavian was having to try to keep him there when they're running. So maybe today we'll let him find that bridle, and we're not trying to take him back, but give him a chance to finish.
And that was a great finish in the career debut. And you have to appreciate that from a young horse in a career debut, because typically you see horses go out speed pop when they're winning 2-year-old debuts. So to kind of sit back and make the late run, that was impressive as well.
It was. I was impressed with the race.
Yeah, Tough Critic again this afternoon in the Skidmore. Talk a little bit about Royal Ascot and what that's like, because you've gone over successfully in the past.
Well, for anybody who's never gone there, it's such a fantastic experience. The atmosphere there, it's really something to see. We were fortunate enough to win with Crimson Advocate, and winning there is like a kind of a dream come true. Yeah. We went there back in 2015 with Cyclogenesis, and he was a big, heavy horse, and it didn't suit him. But we realized then and there that man, we got to come back here with something that can win.
Do you have the top hat?
I put the top hat on. I did.
You have it, or you rent it?
I just rent it. But the way it's going, I might have to buy my own get up.
Very good. And yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. And it as a fan, it's fun to see American runners go over in those big European races, because it gives us a nice rooting interest, and particularly during that crazy 5-day Royal Ascot meet, there's always a few American runners. So it's fun to watch, and I'm sure it's fun to participate.
Yeah, it's been growing every year, and with the coverage they have on, it's great. It's great to watch it. It's a really fun experience. It's great racing, and it's a challenge for an American to go over there. They're the best horses in the world. So, anyway, I loved it.
Also, the configuration is often those straightaway races are a whole different animal.
And there's like 25 or sometimes 30 horses in a race. It's different.
It's also crazy to see them split.
Oh, yeah.
When there's 10 of them over on one side of the course and 10 on the other. You'd never see anything like that here, obviously. But in the straightaway, you can get away with that.
Yeah, it is strange. You wonder if the other ones even know they're in the same race. But
yeah, because and sometimes you see that a horse will pull away from one of the packs and a horse will pull away from the. But yeah, they're so far apart they probably don't realize. I gotta get going here. I want to pull up some of your. Again, it's been a great meet for you, and wanted to talk about some of the other victories. August 14th, we had an off-the-turfer. Belgian is going to be the winner here. Belgian's the number 2 horse and wins very nicely by 11 lengths. But this was the first career start. You were entered in the body of the field. This wasn't a main frac only. So, again, you have a first-time starter in an off-the-turf race. What's your decision-making process? And I'm guessing it probably wasn't that difficult, because back in the middle of July, you had a bullet workout up here on the dirt. So talk a little bit about Belgian, the win, and the decision to stay in when it moved to the dirt.
Well, Belgian has been, in the top tier of the 2-year-old crop that we've had. I've always liked him, very athletic horse. I worked him against a couple of older horses, and on occasion he come off the bridle a little bit, and I was like, I know he's a nice horse, but in one of these heats up here with these expensive horses on the dirt, I'm not 100% sure that when push comes to shove, I wasn't sure he'd stack up. And I did like him a lot. And he was okay on the dirt. But I ended up, he's out of a smart strike mare, and I worked him on the turf probably 12 days before his debut there. And I thought he went really well, and I kind of thought he looked pretty happy out there. So I said, well, let me sprint him on the turf first time out, based on that workout, and see. And when they took it off, I was like, well, this is going to be okay, because I know he handles the dirt like pretty well. So
he did.
I told Javier, I said, look, there's some speed in here. Just don't get in a speed duel. They, as long as you're not too far off of them, they're going to come back to you, and they did in a hurry.
Yeah, again, it was over 10 length victory there. And I mentioned earlier that was one of the most recent victories for Javier, who I showed the tape earlier. I had him in the winner's circle after he wanted to bring the band home to break that cold streak. And since he did that 2 weeks ago, he's now 5 for 18 up here, including this one. So you get a win after a cold streak. And Javier has now progressed very nicely. And this was one of the wins there that has added to that 5 for 18 cents. So what do you do with this horse now, who you think may be okay on turf, but just ran very well on the dirt?
Well, it poses a little bit of a question mark there.
A good question, I assume, for a trainer.
I think you need to probably come back on the dirt. I mean, he ran a 90 Beyer figure.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay.
It's wet track against off the turf horses, but I think you need to see him again on the dirt. That would be my gut hunch right there.
Is it early enough, or is it too late to aim for this meet?
I would not like to run here with the horse. I mean, you're like, oh, let's just run him in a hopeful. I never have any luck bringing a horse that ran well first time out. I never have any luck bringing him back on short rest. Like 2 or 3 weeks is just not enough, especially when they ran as fast as he did. Like if it was up to me, and it is, I think we need to be right around the 6-week marker, give or take a week.
Yeah, because you pop a 90 in the debut. That's
invariably you see those horses try to come back and they regress and don't. This is a really nice colt, and I want to bring him along and develop him into the horse he can be.
Wanted to look at some others because you had a nice debut runner for our friends at West Point and Company in She's Country. This is back just a few days ago on the 13th. And this one's interesting because Combatant as a sire was 0 for 7. So this is the first winner for the sire, who's, obviously fairly new on the scene. You can see the West Point Silks there as She's Country gets it done. Chart margin here is going to be 6 lengths. Went off as the 2-1 favorite, and this was a pretty nice performance. Talk a little bit about She's Country.
Well, She's Country is a real pretty filly. Got plenty of leg. She's trained forwardly all summer. The one of the things different about her is I almost get all my babies on the turf and breeze them on the turf to get a gauge on them. And I just didn't get a chance to do that with her. She had been breezing well enough on the dirt, and she took a little extra work at the gate. The day of entries for the race, I wasn't really pointing for the race, but I looked at it and I called Terry. I called Terry Finley and I said, Terry, do you mind if I enter this filly in this race? I didn't work her on the grass yet, but I have a suspicion she can do very well in here. And he said, go ahead. And anyway, it worked out well. My hunch worked out well.
Again, that was a nice field of 9 in there. Wins off by over 5 lengths. But it was also interesting. You debuted not just on the turf, but you debuted at 2 turns. What's the decision-making process there? A 2-year-old.
Well, that was the deciding factor, is that she clearly is a filly that's going to relish going long. I mean, it's just a elegant-looking filly with leg. Doesn't have that. Doesn't have the speed to sprint. I don't even know if they have a New York bred 7 furlong race here. I mean, I guess if I wanted to stick with the dirt, I could have main track only her. But, luckily I stayed flexible, and so did Terry, and we end up in a winner's circle.
Yeah, you made a great point. A New York bred, and I say all the time, if you have a talented New York bred, you have plenty of options. You can open company and look for New York. Anything in mind for her going forward, or playing it by ear?
I mean, she'd be in the same boat as the other one. It's probably a little bit of a push to come back at this meet. We'll just kind of let the filly tell us what we're going to do. If there's some stakes options, we'll nominate her, because that's what you do with 2-year-olds that have broken their maiden.
I do know they like to West Point likes to run the Natalma.
Yeah, and that's an option too.
All right, because we'll be up there that weekend. So maybe we'll have you sit in with us up there if she winds up in that direction. Speaking of stakes, wanted to pull up Pop Idol going back to the Galway on August 7th. So again, not too long ago. But this is interesting. Pop Idol, the number 1 horse here, Randy Hill. You are a part owner, so this had to be very exciting. John Velasquez on board. But the particularly exciting portion of it for those playing the horse, 17-1, and takes them all the way. And for a minute, it looked like it might get swallowed up, but no, she holds them at bay by a length. Talk about this victory by Pop Idol.
Well, we're proud of her. I ran 4 horses in the race, and all of them were doing well. All of them had a legitimate chance to win, which is why I put them in there. she happened to be the longest shot. But I believed in all the fillies, and to be honest, every one of them, the ones that didn't win or didn't hit the board, Silsby and Regalton, they didn't get a great trip. You know, they just it was kind of, you know,
Silby, it says blocked on the.
Yeah, I mean, she only got beat a length and a quarter, and you know, Regalton might have come back a little bit, but she had. So they all deserve to be in there, and you know, Randy Hill's longtime client, so I'm always glad to win for him. But I hate getting, you know, I hate to get the other ones beat.
Yeah, no.
The best I could do in there is to bet 25%. So what I was worried about is running 4 horses in the race, because I don't even know if I had the favorite, like as being 0 for 4 in the race, and I was like, man, hopefully one of them will jump up.
Yeah, and one of them did. And the 17-1 was a little surprising, given the horse when last seen had won 2 straight, but they were up at Woodbine last year, so you're coming back off a long layoff.
Yeah, she has to, you know, she needed a little time off, and I guess technically she hadn't run on the turf that much. I started her once there at Aqueduct, I believe, and she kind of weakened a little bit, and then went up there and had success on synthetic. So I think she is 17-1, because people are like, well, we see legit synthetic form, but we don't know about the turf.
And again, the layoff probably played into it as well a little bit, but it was a nice performance. Anything in mind for Pop Idol?
You know, they've got those races at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah.
She's a 3-year-old filly, but she's not Kentucky bred, so you know that's an option. There's also a nice race at Woodbine, I think September 21st, which is probably more likely. A little hard when these 3-year-old fillies trying to keep them amongst their class. It's a little hard going forward.
Yeah, but it was a nice-looking victory on the return. Speaking of nice-looking victories, I had to pull up another one. Another first-time starter that ran very well for you. You've been doing very nicely with some of these types of runners at the meet, well overall, but particularly with these. I tried to get Rick over here, Rick Pitino, and he said he was going to be at the track a little too early to make it over here, so didn't get a chance to get Rick on, but we get a mention with him with the debut victory for, speaking of Rick Pitino, Johnny's Red Storm. This was, again, just recently, August 3rd. Johnny's Red Storm is going to be the number 3 horse, Kendrick Carmouche on board. And from reading a little bit about this horse, you came into the race fairly confident for Johnny's Red Storm.
Well, he had worked well for us. Like, I definitely knew he had enough talent to win this type of race. You know, it was an auction race, so the theory behind auction races gives you a chance to, you know, run a maiden race without catching maybe a killer, although that's not always the case. But when he broke that quickly for Kendrick, I was like, oh, this is over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man, they're going to have a hard time catching him. I wasn't sure he was that quick out of the gate, but once I saw that, I was like, he's going to be tough to beat from there.
Yeah, and it was a good-looking debut. And thoughts on, you know, this one? Again, this was August 3rd. Would this one potentially come back at the meet?
They don't really, you know, today's the sprint stake for 2-year-old colts. The question being with him, how far is it going to stretch out? Will he stretch out? He's a Kentucky bred. I think Kentucky Downs is probably the most likely landing spot for him. There's an option at Colonial. I mean, the with anticipation bubble race for him, you know, going from 5.5 to mile 16th might not be a high percentage play. So we'll see.
All right. Looking forward to Johnny's Red Storm. And again, for Rick, what's it like working for Rick?
Oh, coach is great. You know, we've had some nice horses for him. Agelis the Great's been a great, nice horse.
Yeah,
he ran a big race the other day.
Good second. Yeah, good second the other day.
But coach he's been great.
There was an interesting article that in anticipation of an interview on this horse I pulled up. He was talking about Johnny's Red Storm, but he said overall, out there in the basketball court, it's life or death. But at the racetrack, he's competitive, he said, but, you know, if you lose, you turn the page, you move on horse racing. A little bit different than on the basketball court.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
But again, he's a nice, fun addition to the game, certainly as an owner. And finally, before we let you go, just wanted to talk about a couple of other ones. And I pulled up a couple races back for these two because I wanted to see the George Weaver Exacta here. We'll look at July 13th, the quick call. It's going to be number 2, Governor Sam. Number 7, Ortley Avenue for our friends at Bonaventure Stables. Runs a really good second. It's the shortest price on the board, and Ortley Avenue, the longest price on the board, completing the George Weaver Exacta. They came back subsequently in the Mahoney and ran 2nd and 7th, but just talk a little bit. Governor Sam is a nice one. And again, tough beat last time in the Mahoney with a horse that just kind of popped that day. But talk a little bit about, again, Governor Sam and Ortley Avenue.
But both horses are real nice. I mean, that was a nice win for Governor Sam, and Ortley stepped up and ran big in that race as well. You know, we came back in the next race, and they just went too fast up front, to be honest with you. Ortley Avenue needs to kind of be put on the engine. If you, like, hold them together, he kind of switches leads back and forth, and I like him more, like, letting him free run. But they were flying. They were flying up front. I think they went 21 flat. The tempo was, 4/5 of a second faster than it was in the race earlier in the meet. And I think it just,
21.
Not to, Mott's horse is a nice horse, but the race flow is definitely favoring a horse coming from that position. And maybe Governor Sam was laying a little close. Yeah. But Governor Sam's been a nice colt. Yeah. He's, he's knocked out over $500,000 now.
Yeah, he's definitely a bona fide turf sprinter, which is a handicapper, I always say, is I think a specialty. And again, Governor Sam now 5 for 10 overall. And Ortley Avenue lightly raced, and again, rooting for our friends at Bonaventure Stables.
He just went too fast. Yeah. He needs the show speed, but not that much. Yeah, he hit the half at
43.
They were flying.
It's tough thing. George, again, wanted to have you on because it's been a very good meet, and we wanted to talk a little bit about that, but certainly plenty of meat still to go. So we congratulate you on what you've done so far. Wish you good luck going forward, and we appreciate the visit.
Thank you very much for having me, Seth.
George Weaver, again, a really nice meet. We'll hope it keeps going and watch and wager accordingly. We will now wrap it up, as you can see on the screen there, heading to the pregame show. David Aragona joining Andy Sterling today, so that should be fun. As for us, stay tuned to the network all afternoon. Again, Kali Francois will have the cut-ins starting about race 8, some comments on the paddock performances, and that'll be on the network today. Also, King's Plate up at Woodbine. Keep that in mind. Also, Del Mar, of course, throughout the day as well. Should be a fun Saturday, including, of course, the Alabama right here at Saratoga. We'll have a lot of recap action tomorrow and more. 9 a.m. handicapper support, 10 a.m. loose on the lead. We'll see you then.
You've been watching Racing Across America. Racing Across America has been brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. And the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. When you can't make it to the track, make it to the Clubhouse Racebook.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Alabama Day Talking Horses, Day 28.